Morning. It's Saturday, February 19th, and I haven't spoken much about Donald Trump only. I mentioned him casually in some other situations, but today I'm talking about Donald Trump and Ivanka and Donald Jr., because a New York State judge has ruled that they must testify. They must testify in this civil lawsuit that involves the criminal activities, or so-called criminal activities, of the Trump Organization. And they must comply with these depositions within 21 days. Now, of course, Donald can appeal, and he might get a stay, which will delay this thing, but he must testify. He's going to have to testify, and so are his children. Now, the fact that they're going to testify doesn't really mean they're going to say anything, because his son Eric testified, and all Eric did was take the Fifth Amendment 500 and something times during the testimony. And that's what Donald Trump, and that's what Ivanka, and that's what Don Jr. will probably do also. They will take the Fifth Amendment for as many times as the question, and as many questions are asked. However, this is a civil suit, and it's unlike a criminal suit. Because if you take the Fifth Amendment in the criminal suit, they cannot assume anything. But in a civil suit, if you take the Fifth Amendment in a civil suit, it can be assumed that your answer is adverse. In other words, they can assume that you are not answering because you are guilty of what they are asking you. Now, that is a tremendous amount of pressure that it puts on you, because if you keep taking the Fifth, they're going to keep saying, well, he did it. And there's no question in my mind that they did it. And this is all about falsifying the value of properties in order to get loans and to get tax breaks. So sometimes you raise the value of the property because you want to get a loan, and sometimes you lower the value of the property because you want to avoid paying taxes. Trump and his lawyers attempted to freeze the work of Attorney General Letitia James, who was investigating this whole thing, investigating whether the Trumps misled lenders and insurers or others in the business community by using his family's business financial statements, which were obviously doctored in some way, shape, or form in order to get these loans or these tax breaks. And during the 2-hour hearing on Thursday morning, when the judge was giving his ruling, the Trumps were attempting to convince the judge that sitting for testimony was a violation of their civil rights. Again, with the rights. They say that sitting for this civil investigation would undermine their constitutional rights. Again, rights. And the judge said, your argument completely misses the mark. He noted that the Trumps have a right to refuse to answer the specific questions. They can't stop the investigation. They must sit for a deposition in the investigation. And the judge also got on their case because the Trump Organization was claiming that the Letitia James investigation doesn't count anymore because the former president's long-term accounting firm, Mazars USA, recently determined that the last 10 years of financial statements that it prepared were unreliable. So Trump is using the fact that Mazars was smart enough to get out from under this mess for him to get out, because he's now claiming that the investigation doesn't count because the papers were false. How dumb is that? I allow my accountants to write crap, and now when I get caught, I'm saying it doesn't count because they wrote crap. What kind of shit is that? That's insanity. The idea that the accounting firms made this an announcement, that no one should rely on a decade's worth of financial statement, the numbers that they submitted by an entity somehow exonerates the entity. Does that mean that because the accounting firm did what Trump wanted them to do, and what it is a bunch of false information, then that lets the entity, the Trump organization, off the hook? Is that the craziest circular thinking that you could imagine? I let the guys write false information. I submit it to the federal government. I submit it to banks and insurance companies. And now you're trying to tell everybody it's not my fault, it's the accounting firm's fault? You provide the information to the accounting firm. They provide it to the people that you want to help you. And now you're telling everybody that's no good because the accounting firm did it? Boy, oh boy, does that take nerve? Does that think the rest of the world is stupid? No. Donald just thinks that the rest of the world is not as smart as he is. But the rest of the world is as smart as he is. It's just that nobody's taken him to task before. And in addition to that, his chief financial officer will have to sit for a deposition also. And he's already in big trouble anyhow. So this has to take place in the next 21 days. That's what the judge ordered, the next 21 days. And the judge also gave the president 14 days to comply with the Attorney General's demand for certain documents and records. So they got 14 days to get the records, and 21 days they got to give the deposition. And maybe Donald will get the ass kicking that he deserves now. And I don't want to sound too prejudiced for him, but after 4 years of his presidency and his ruination of this country's democracy, he deserves everything he gets now in court. So, bottom line is that the state attorney general, Letitia James, is investigating a business entity and uncovers copious evidence of possible financial fraud. And now they have to stand up and defend that position. And their defense will be, I take the fifth. As many, who knows, it may come out to be 1,000 or so times. But in a civil suit, there is an implication of guilt when you do that. So I leave you with that this morning, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.